Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show!
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of stimulating things with microphones. Chief among them, I'm a professional ring announcer, and I am joined this week, as I always am, by two friends of mine who are just as wise in MMA terms as they are handsome. On the left side of our screens, joining us from an undisclosed location in New York City, Omar, the, what is it, Nicaraguan Nightmare?
The Nicaraguan Nightmare, baby.
Artola. Omar, why are you in a shady hotel room?
Well, I had to come to New York for work.
There you go.
For my 9-to-5 job, and they paid for my trip, put me up in a hotel, and I'm in Times Square, and I missed my wife. So there you go.
Oh, that's nice. And joining us on the right side of your screens, fresh off of the set of Duck Hunter International. Joining us from New York as well, Mark Priaulx. Mark, what's going on, bud?
Yeah, so I said to the boys earlier before we went live here that I was already wearing this shirt. And then when I was walking out of my house, I was like, let me just grab a hat. Didn't really think about the America hat with the camo shirt until I came on the screen here. But this is me for tonight, so it's a little aggressive.
All right.
It is what it is. And the reason we were all chuckling in the beginning is because Omar threw out the word stimulating for Mike to use to start us off there.
That's right.
That's why we were all laughing there.
I still think that was a solid choice for the
Thank you. Got to keep the adjectives fresh around here. But boys, we have a lot to get to with this episode. Coming on the heels of UFC 266, there's a lot of big headlines in the news right now in terms of MMA. And we have two events to look forward to. So let me quickly run down. We're going to start off like we always do with On the Marquee. Then we're going to discuss some other huge fights from this past weekend's UFC 266. It was a great card overall. Then we're going to hop into our Priaulx rankings, and then we're going to dive inside the MMA sphere. And then we're going to look to the future, to this coming weekend's Bellator and UFC cards. But first, before we get to any of that, please like and subscribe to this video and subscribe to this channel. That is, there's no better way to help us out, guys, than to hit that like button and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Find us wherever you find your podcasts and subscribe there as well. And of course, find us on social media, follow, and join the conversation. With that being said, gentlemen, let us dive into our first segment on the marquee. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Alexander Volkanovski, who this past weekend at UFC 266 defeated Brian Ortega by unanimous decision, earning a 49-46, 50-45, and 50-44. Mark, let me start with you. Alexander the Great retains his title. What did you make of the fight? What did you make of his performance?
Alexander the Great has never felt so apropos as it does right now.
Yeah, man.
That man is friggin' great. I mean, we knew that coming in. Obviously, he hasn't lost in ages, but my God, if his stock didn't go up after that one. I mean, that was incredible. Holy hell. What a fight. The heart from both guys, the skill from both guys. Round 3 was complete insanity, arguably round of the year. It was crazy. It was a hell of a title fight. One of the most memorable title fights in a while. I came so close to nailing it. I had said that I thought Volk would be winning the rounds, which obviously he was, but that I was leaning Ortega just because he's so dangerous. And I said that I was going to go with a club and sub in round 3. And you can't get any freaking closer than I got to being right. I mean, that knockdown into the mounted guillotine, first off, was one of the slickest, nastiest things I have ever seen. If the belt changed hands right there, which I still can't believe it didn't, which we'll get to.
How close?
We would have seen that highlight 1 million times for the rest of eternity. I mean, it was Ortega was mounted in that guillotine before my brain even processed that the knockdown happened. It was lightning. But I will never understand for the rest of my days how Alexander Volkanovski was in a mounted guillotine from Brian Ortega, of all people, and survived. And then was in triangle. Like, both times, I am stood up from my couch with my arms in the air because I'm rooting for Ortega, waiting for the tap because I know it has to come. Like, I'm not even considering that the fight is not over. Both times. Like, even when it got to the triangle, I was like, all right, well, it's certainly over now. And for Volk to survive both of those is just, I still can't comprehend it. I really cannot. And it's time for people, and yes, I'm looking at myself, to put more respect on this man's name. He is stupid levels of tough. It's incredible. And I do want to point out also that you got to give Ortega his props. Like, when round 3 ended and he sprawled out on the canvas, I thought the fight was over. I wasn't even sure he was going to make it to the corner. I've since heard that his corner actually picked him up, which is a little sketchy and is not supposed to be happening. I didn't notice that live. Maybe it wasn't on the screen live. I'm not sure.
He was kind of in his corner, right?
Huh?
He was pretty much in his own corner.
But they picked him up. They, like, his team physically touched him and like helped him get up off the floor.
Yeah,
that's hella illegal.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That shouldn't be happening. And even if he did make it to his corner, I wasn't sure he was going to make it out to even start round 4. And not only does he come out, he gets right back on it. Like, he was never even looking dead like that. And round 5, he came out even harder than that. I thought he won round 5, honestly. None of the judges did. I thought he did. So props to him, too. What a friggin' warrior. I mean, both guys, just absolute warriors. Awesome, awesome fight. Classic fight. And round 3 was one of the craziest rounds I've ever seen.
Omar, what do you think was the keys to victory for Volkanovski? What was the main story of this fight?
I mean, the main story was keeping the pressure. I think the pressure was the biggest thing that Ortega really had an issue dealing with. But at the end of the day, all that pressure and everything is all well and good if you're using it successfully. But to Mark's credit, that triangle or the guillotine, there's no pressure at that point. There's nothing you can really do but what Volkanovski did. And that might be like 1% of people who were even able to do something like that.
Unbelievable. To
just like, I've been in chokes before. I've been in rear naked chokes. I've been in a guillotine. I've actually been in a Darce choke. I can tell you right now, not only can you not breathe, that shit hurts. Okay. There is a moment where your throat feels like it's crushing itself, like just compacting itself.
Especially when you're mounted.
Yeah, dude, it's not. It's a painful and also like debilitating feeling because you obviously can't breathe right. So for him to just, and when he was wiggling like that, just like doing everything he could to get out, I really thought it was just a matter of time before he went to sleep. That's really what I thought. Yeah,
usually that wiggling is a sign that it's about to be over almost.
Yeah, especially because it didn't even really look like he had any technique in trying to get out of it. I think his arms might have been kind of trapped in that moment. Whatever happened, it was just pure madness that he even popped out of that thing. From Ortega, which is a completely different feather of a cap, right? This is not some random dude that caught him in a mountain guillotine. This is, at this point, arguably one of the best submission artists in the game right now.
Yep.
And for him to get out of that submission, if nothing else had happened in that fight, that alone would have skyrocketed his stock to a new level. Because, the 2 Max Holloway fights, even the Aldo fight, I thought he won those fights, but at the same time, they were very competitive, right? Like, it was a lot of back and forth. There were arguments as to who did what and how much better one did than the other and all this other stuff. After this fight, more than anything, his mettle, his ability to put the pressure on to really take Ortega out of his game, because we didn't see the same Ortega we saw against Zombie. It was a completely, his game wasn't allowed to be as versatile as it was against Zombie because of the way that Volk fights. It's a lot of credit to Volk for his pressure, a lot of credit to Volk for his mentality to keep himself composed in that moment, because I promise you, he probably felt like he was dying at a certain point. It was a fantastic fight. It was a fantastic way to really put a stamp on the fact that this is who I am. I'm here. I'm the champion. You are going to literally have to kill me to take this belt away. And I loved it, man. I will say the guillotine was 100% tighter than the triangle. I didn't have the same reaction to the triangle personally, just because the triangle at no point actually looked really tight, and Volkanovski still had his posture. So that one didn't freak me out as much as the guillotine. I thought the guillotine was done. I did not see Volkanovski popping his head out.
I mean, just saw Volkanovski's legs just kicking and kicking and kicking. I was like,
Yep.
Come on, man, tap. Because I also was rooting for Ortega, man. I would have been just so happy for Brian Ortega, to become the UFC featherweight champ, man. That would have been so cool. And I was like, oh my God, he did it. Like he did it, meaning like he did it by sub. Of course he did. The way that he just clamps down on a sub, like you said, Mark, like before you even realize that he's doing it, you're like, oh my God, that's so fast.
Yeah. And I think it was, sorry, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say the triangle, I agree. At first, I didn't think it was tight either. When I thought it was over, I guess I misread the situation, is when Volk went to his back. I guess it was Volk that created that going to his back. I thought when I was watching it live that it was Ortega sitting up to tighten it into a mounted triangle. And as soon as I saw him sitting up to top like that, I was like, Volk is dead now. And that's when I was like celebrating. And then like a second after that, I was like, fuck, it's not even there anymore.
Yeah.
So that was my second where that got me. But I'm sure you guys heard the quote. Post fight, they asked Volk how close the guillotine was. And he had a great line. He said it was shit. I'm about to lose the belt close, which tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was a great fight. I mean, that might be one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. That's definitely going to go. Yeah, it's going to go on the list. I don't know what number. I'm not ranking it, but it's, when people talk to me about, if I've never seen MMA, what's a good fight for me to watch? That probably will be one of the ones that they need to go see.
Definitely. Well, let's go now to where do these guys go from here? Mark, let me start with you. What do you think is next for the champ?
So I wish that we were just going straight into Volk versus Max 3. I don't really see the reason why that's not happening. I get it. I was fine with the booking of Max versus Yair when it originally was supposed to be happening. But then once it got delayed and it's after Volk already fought now, and it's 2 months after Volk's fight, and then we're gonna have to wait. Their timelines aren't aligned now. To me, as soon as that fight got delayed, it makes so much more sense to be like, you know what, this fight doesn't make sense anymore because now we have no challenger ready to go. Especially with Volk saying he wants to stay in the U.S. because of how hard it is going back and forth from Australia. He's like, I'd rather stay here and fight again relatively soon. It would suck for Yair, and I don't know if it's even possible at this point. I know you need the headliner and everything, but to me, the thing that makes sense is just saying, you know what, it's Max versus Volk. Max has earned it. We're doing the third one, and you have a guy like Giga Chikadze waiting in the wings, who I feel like you could put right into that Yair fight, and it's still friggin' amazing fight.
Yeah, for sure.
For Volk, that's where I would go. If that's not going to happen, I don't see what else this guy gets to do. He's mentioning, do I take a lightweight fight? Like, what lightweight is there that would even make sense to risk Volk fighting against when you're waiting to build Volk versus Max 3? I don't know why I can't say that every time I try to say it. But you don't want to risk Volk against one of these top lightweights who are all significantly bigger than him. Like, I don't see who you'd let him fight if he even wanted to do that.
Yeah.
He threw out Connor's name. Obviously, Connor's not going to be ready for ages, so that makes no sense. So I don't know. There's not a great answer other than doing that title fight right now.
Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, just considering the layout that there is right now, in my head, it was the loser of Holloway Rodriguez probably should get Ortega, and obviously the winner would get the belt, the chance of the belt. I know that Ortega's beyond fucked up at this point. He's got a broken orbital. He's got bruised ribs. He's probably not going to be good for like at least another 2 months at this point, minimum. And Volkanovski, at least on the surface, didn't really look like he was super injured. Obviously, he's got battle wounds, right? But I don't think he has anything super significant that he needs, a significant amount of time to heal from. So he might be able to get back in there a lot sooner than we think. It sounds like he wants to get in there ASAP. As far as the lightweight part of it, I just, Israel went up in weight and fought for a title, and that's how he, lost his UFC undefeated bit and all this other stuff. And it wasn't that big of a deal, I think, in my head, because it was a title fight. It was something that was kind of worth, the juice was worth the squeeze, right?
Right. Agree.
I don't see that really being the case in lightweight. The only person in my head that would be an interesting fight would be Chandler versus Volk. But I don't really see the point of that fight, is really where I'm having an issue.
Right. Plus, they're not going to pull Chandler from the Gaethje fight.
Right. And so I don't really see the need for him to go up. You're not going to throw him in like as a backup, right? You're not going to throw him in as a last minute replacement for somebody who dropped out. Like, it's not like he's going to fight Islam Makhachev now, right? I don't really know where he's supposed to go if he goes up to lightweight, especially if we're looking for a fun fight that's not really going to mess around with the rankings, if he's not going to fight for a title shot. Yeah. Honestly, man, like, I know Volk wants to fight at this point, but the reality is it just doesn't make sense. If I was him, spend the goddamn holidays with your kids and your family.
For sure.
Come back in 2022 and let's just see where we're at.
What about T-City, Mark? What do you think?
So for him, I just saw a couple days ago that Zabit Magomed Sharapov is finally back, which I didn't even know if that was ever going to happen. The guy's been gone for so long. But that fight had been rumored in the past. It may have even been booked in the past. I can't remember. But they've definitely been linked together before. I know Ortega's hurt, so I don't know how long he needs. I don't know how quickly Zabit's trying to fight. He just announced this. Maybe he is implying, he still has to do the camp. Maybe he already did the camp and he's looking to fight right now. I'm not really sure what kind of shape he's in. But I think that fight is a perfect matchup for Ortega bouncing back, for Zabit to get a big shot that he was going to get before he kind of disappeared. So to me, perfect world. I'm doing Max versus Volk. I'm letting Giga have the Yair fight, and I'm doing Ortega versus Zabit. I think that all makes perfect sense. Is that what's going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, any other final words you guys want to put on this main event?
No.
All right. I promise you, if you miss this main event, I feel all types of sorry for you. I really do.
Well, on this main card of UFC 266, there was another throwback fight, man. A rematch of the ages that probably would have been much bigger about a decade ago, and that's how long ago the first one was. Robbie Lawler took on Nick Diaz. And if you didn't see the results so far, sorry for the spoilers. Robbie Lawler defeated Nick Diaz by TKO by retirement at the 44-second mark of round number 3. And if you don't know, and I didn't know this, retirement is when a fighter just elects to not continue themselves, which is exactly what happened. Lawler landed a few hard shots on Diaz, and he knocked him down. And instead of going into Diaz's guard, he said, no, go ahead, get up, get back up. And when referee, who was the ref? I think it was Herzog.
It was either Herzog or Peterson. I
kind of think it was Peterson. No, maybe I'm wrong.
Either way, the referee said, okay, Nick, get up. And Nick said he didn't really react. And then I think the ref said, like, do you want to continue? It looked like the ref was asking. And Nick just kind of waved it off, and the ref waved it off. What?
You have to agree. Like, I'm laughing more at how it happened, and not even that he like just was kind of done at that point, because I don't even blame him. But
no, really, I blame him.
I mean, look, that dude didn't go in there for anything other than to like get back in the game, put on a show for people and stuff like this was like a fun kind of fight. I never really took the fight super seriously. I didn't think anything was really going to come of it. Like, Nick Diaz is not going to make a title run at this point.
I see. That's I totally disagree with you. It's not about that. It was just so uncharacteristic of a Diaz brother.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
yes, I agree.
You would think that the Diaz brothers, that their attitude going into any fight, that to them, like, it's a fight. And just because you get knocked down,
It's the whole Diaz persona.
It's the whole Diaz persona. And anyway, that's just my take on that part. Keep going.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, 100%. But I think Diaz is at a different point in his life, which is why I don't ever think he really should have been back. Diaz is not that same gangster dude anymore. He's just not. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to be. The man is in a different place in his life. He seems like he's happy in his life.
Really?
What the hell have you?
How does he look happy?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I absolutely think he looks happy with his life. I absolutely do. Yeah, it seems like he works a lot with kids. He has
really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
he works with kids. He him and his brother have families at this point. Like we're not talking about early 20s Diaz where they needed to wreck people to make a living. Like
I shouldn't have disagreed with happy in life, but I didn't think he seemed happy to be fighting. And obviously, if he's not happy to be fighting, there's a reason he's fighting. So, like, maybe not everything is super perfect right now.
Well, it could also, I mean, he expressed a lot of frustration with watching his brother fight. It could have been something where he felt some sort of retribution. Like, if his brother's going to go in there and do some wars, maybe he needs to too. Maybe he needs to stop being such a bitch about it. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, that Robbie Lawler has been in the game for so long and hasn't taken any real breaks like Nick Diaz has, that I didn't really see how different that fight was going to go. I will say I was super impressed that Nick was even able to throw have the technique that he had after all these years.
That's what I was going to
say too. I thought it was actually really fantastic. The gas tank you could see was not as great as a normal Diaz performance.
Yeah.
But saying that, he still threw a shit ton of punches. Like his gas tank on a bad day is still fantastic.
Okay.
So,
but hold on real quick. I just want to go back to this. Are you telling me that both Diaz brothers are married and have kids?
I know Nate has a daughter or he has one child, and I know he's with a girlfriend. I don't know if he's married or not. I don't know the logistics of that, but he's got a woman and he's got a baby.
I don't think Nick has kids, does he?
I don't know if Nick has kids or not, but that's his family. Like you're talking about it.
We were saying working with kids, Mike, not having kids.
Yeah. Well, Nick works with.
I thought Omar said that they have families.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if Nick actually has a child or not, but they're so close that the nephews and stuff like that. I mean, those are borderline his family, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole aura of everything, because even back in the day when they were first coming up, it was just them. It was just the two of them, ride or die. But now it's not the two of them, right? It's Nate and his family, Nick and his boys. Like they've grown themselves into a real family, even with the team, right? With the Gracies and all these other folks.
Yeah.
I think they're in a very different place in their life. I think the same thing about Nate as well. And I think Nate is doing it at this point for the money, because he's finally getting paid what he feels like he's relatively worth.
Sure, of course.
So I think he's okay with it.
Well, Nick got paid too.
All right.
Got paid more than everybody.
I do want to talk about the fight a little bit.
Go for it.
I mean, that fight had it all. It was kind of fun. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
It was kind of exciting. It was kind of frustrating. Like it was all over the place emotionally. Like you said, Nick definitely looked a bit slow, and he even looked tentative, like for himself. But my God, the boxing technique was as good as ever. I mean, Robbie was trying to run him over like a freight train. And there was points of the fight where I was like, wow, Nick is still about to turn this tide just because his technique is so goddamn good, even though this like runaway train is running at him. So you got to give props to Nick on that, how nasty his hands are. But yeah, man, Robbie looked rejuvenated. Like seeing that aggressive walk him down Robbie Lawler was such a refreshing sight. We haven't seen that in so long. Like the Robbie Lawler who walks at you like that is frightening for anybody, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I maybe part of it was that he knew Nick wasn't going to take him down. So that's why he was able to fight that way. Whereas when he's fighting a wrestler, he's afraid to fight in that style because he's afraid he's going to walk right into a takedown.
Sure.
So I get that. And by the way, I do want to say I picked Nick on this podcast last week. And then the next day is when the pictures and videos, interviews came out where it was super obvious that he had no chance. And I told both of these guys that I was switching to Robbie Lawler by TKO. So please note that on the tape. It became pretty obvious during fight week that Nick was not going to win that fight. But yeah, I mean, the finish was tough. Like, it was just tough. Like, I'm with Mike. Like, to see a Diaz brother after everything that they are and what they mean to so many people, like this persona, the Nick Diaz army, the whole deal, to be down and have a chance to stand up and say, nah. Like, I get it, and I do feel like Nick Diaz has 100% a right to do anything he wants. Like,
Sure.
Who am I to fucking say that Nick Diaz can't say nah? He can say nah. 100% he can. It doesn't mean it doesn't suck, because it does suck.
It does.
You know what I mean? So it sucked to see. It was a little sad. And for me, unless Nick is going to, like, commit to welterweight and come in the kind of shape that he posted on his Instagram, like, months ago, I don't want to see it anymore. If he's going to do that, I will allow one more, and then maybe I still don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah, it was like two fights happening at the same time. Like it was cool to see Nick still had hands, and it was almost like it was like riding a bike to him, like boxing to him. His striking prowess and his timing, and he still has that peppering style where he just gets a guy, in a state where the opponent just keeps blocking and blocking and blocking all these peppering shots. Maybe a few get in there, but the opponent doesn't mind that much because they're just peppering shots. And then he rips one.
Yeah.
And I was like, at any moment, are we going to see a replay of their first fight where he just catches him like on the button?
Right. I kept thinking it.
There were a few moments where like, is this going to happen?
He was just so clean.
But at the same time with this fight, it was also like a really sad fight to watch. I mean, he was clearly in the worst shape he's ever been in his whole career. He's 38. But, to be fair, Robbie Lawler's 39. I mean, let's be real. And Lawler came in sick shape.
Yeah.
But Nick also just looked tired. Like he just looked weathered. He looked like he wasn't really thrilled to be there.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't really thrilled to be there, which led to the retirement. So it's just weird overall, weird finish.
I think the reason it felt kind of sad is because his technique was still so unreal that it was like, man, if he wasn't a shell of himself right now, this fight would probably be over already.
You don't think it would have been more sad if he just looked terrible and got knocked out?
Well, yeah, like, that's a different kind of sad. But to me, watching, like, man, this man still has so many skills.
Yeah.
But he came in here looking like he couldn't give a fuck was like almost harder to deal with. But on the flip, I did get a text from someone who's new to MMA, who's been watching MMA for like a year, a buddy of mine, who was like, holy shit, this guy's hands are crazy. Yeah. So like to see a new person be able to appreciate Nick Diaz, I was like, as much as this sucks, I guess it is cool that he's in here and that like this new crop of fans is getting to see how nasty this dude was. It's just not the same guy. So it's like,
there aren't many welterweights with boxing like Nick Diaz.
No.
There's not a lot of people with boxing like Nick Diaz.
Exactly.
I mean, the Diaz brothers have very, very unique styles when it comes to their hands, and not a lot of people can really mimic that style. The volume and the timing for when the power shot comes amongst the pepper is something that's kind of amazing. The body shots that Diaz was ripping, like, had me like, oh, like when I was watching them, like they were nasty body shots, man. And like, as difficult as it was to watch Diaz kind of, be done with it, there was a bit of like, I don't know. For me, I don't know. I looked at him and I was like I get it. I can't imagine he was in there like, nah, I need to get up. I need to finish this fight. He's probably like, man, what the fuck am I doing here right now?
It's like, I'm almost 40.
What am I doing? I am, this is stupid. I'm going home right now. That's just kind of where I thought his head was at. He got hit with a good shot. He actually looked like he dodged that last little uppercut that Robbie tried to kill him with.
Yeah, he did.
And then at that point, his nose was busted. Yeah. I think his knee was all, I don't know if his knee,
he might have hurt his knee. I still couldn't tell.
Yeah, so
because it did look like there was a lump on it. So like maybe something did happen.
He also looked like he was like rubbing it while he was on the ground. But
yeah.
Either way, like, you guys know me. I'm one of those people I'm not about watching people take damage unnecessarily. And if Nick Diaz knew from that point going forward, he wasn't even going to be able to fight as the shell of who he was at that point, I'm happier having him be like, we're good. Let's go. Let's end this shit right now.
Yeah.
How about this idea for Nick Diaz? This just came to me. So Jake Paul has obviously been mentioning Nate Diaz a lot.
Oh my God.
Let's
But
hear
Nate
it.
Diaz is not going to be doing that because he's still a legit contender in the UFC. He's in huge fights, blah, blah, blah. Then we have our buddy Nick Diaz, who we don't really want to see fight anymore, but it seems like he maybe needs to fight for the money. So why not put him in there with Jake Paul, get him paid $1 zillion. His life's great. He beats the shit out of Jake Paul.
That'd be
Jake
great.
Paul goes away. Nick
That'd be-
Diaz is a hero again. We ride off into the sunset.
Okay. So if that happens and Jake Paul wins that fight, I'm
No
fighting
way,
you, Mark.
dude.
I am going to fight you, Mark.
No,
No.
he could never win
Nick
that
Diaz
fight.
loses that fight.
What if
No,
he gets
there's no
clipped?
chance.
What if Nick gets clipped?
There's no chance.
Okay.
No. I refuse to believe there's a reality where Nick Diaz loses a boxing
I
match with Jake Paul.
refuse to keep giving Jake Paul opportunities to legitimize the bullshit. I will not stand for
I'm just
it
trying to get Nick
anymore.
paid. That's all.
I mean, look. You guys, here's the question. Do you think he fights in MMA again? Not even the UFC.
Hell no.
You don't think so? It sounded like he wanted to.
You don't think he ever puts on 4-ounce gloves ever again?
He said if I get my ass kicked, I want to go right back in there. But like,
That
I
was
don't see him
sarcasm.
having. That's
Even
what
in
I mean.
the
I don't
post
see
fight,
him,
dude. In the post fight, he was like, "I'm happy to be back. I'll be back."
Yeah, I can't see him getting out of that cage and being like, "No, I want to do that again." I can't.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean,
see
if he
it.
fights again, he should be fighting like, realistically speaking, if he's going to fight in the UFC again, I mean, he should be fighting like Mike Perry, like someone like that, who's like not high level, I mean, Mike Perry's a killer in his own right, but
He's
you know
not-
what I mean? But he won't take a fight like that. He's only going to want
Right.
these top names, which he should not be in there with. So, like, I don't know what.
Right. I mean, he invoked
What do you even do with him?
he invoked Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
He
you
said,
Which
he said that
now,
he would
in
beat the shit out of
retrospect-
Usman.
know what they should do with him, actually, that people might be interested in? They should put him with the Jits guy. If they need
For
to, if
sure.
he needs to fight again, I'm saying. Like, put him, you know what? This would be cool. Damian Maia has been begging for one more fight, and they haven't been willing to do it. Diaz might accept that fight. If you have to give Diaz one more, do Diaz and Damian Maia.
Yeah, I'd watch this shit out
At
of
least,
that fight.
Diaz isn't getting knocked out in that fight.
Because you know that Maya is only looking to take him down.
Yeah,
And Nick would be like, fine, let's play jiu-jitsu.
right. Or Nick
Yeah,
gets to
and-
show off his hands and win that way.
Right.
And no way Damian Maia's hands are going to, because Damian Maia has the type of hands that are good for a jiu-jitsu guy. No way those hands are going to be good enough
Oh,
to
no.
actually do anything to Diaz.
I mean,
Not a
hindsight
chance.
is 2020, but in a weird way, even this unranked version of, nearing 40-year-old Robbie Lawler was a bad matchup for Nick because
Yes, he was.
in Nick's first fight back after 6 years away, he fights a guy who is just an absolute pit bull coming after him, like Mark said, like a freight train the whole fight.
Yeah.
I mean, but at welterweight, is there any other welterweights that are outside of the top 5 that he's going to say yes to?
Say yes to? Probably not. No.
That are not named Robbie Lawler. Robbie's not
Maya
a top
is really
team.
my new idea because I could see Diaz respecting Maya enough that he said yes to it, and I think it checks a lot of boxes. If he commits to welterweight, I don't want to see it at middleweight. If he
I think there's
coming in shape, I'm willing to give him one more in that type of a fight.
I think there's 2 names, maybe 3 names that he would even consider and not hang up the phone on your face. 3. Jorge Masvidal, just because
Would
that was
murder him.
yes. This is not about who would win and lose. This is just Nick Diaz picking up the phone, right? Jorge Masvidal, just because of the fights with Nate Diaz, probably wants to get that one back, whatever, right? Possible. The Sensei Luque, just because he's an animal,
Luque?
probably respects.
Wow.
Just because he respects. I would assume he respects the technique, the heart, the fact that Vicente Luque actually always goes in there to throw down. I would assume there's some sort of mutual respect there. And then I would also probably think on the lower end, Neil Magny. I can't imagine that they look at
Interesting
Magny's
picks.
career and be like, nah, he's a
Interesting picks.
bitch. Neil Magny has fought everybody all the time, no questions asked, late replacement. He don't care. Neil Magny to me is probably one of the most real fighters as far as that's concerned. So
the issue is
I
all
would
those
think
guys are ranked ahead of Robbie. So how would you justify that?
I wouldn't. I'm
Right.
saying I would not. I would not.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that if you're asking who Nick Diaz would even entertain fighting, those are the only 3 names out of the top
Right.
15 that I could even think he would
Right.
be relatively interested in.
Of course, it also depends on what kind of Nick Diaz we get. Do we get a sort of like slightly bloated looking Nick Diaz again, or do we get coming, Nick Diaz triathlete shape Nick Diaz who is a beast and walks his opponents down?
That's why I made the point of he has to commit to being at welterweight. I don't want to see this middleweight version of Nick Diaz.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, the anxiety that kid had. I don't know if you guys
man.
saw the anxiety on that dude
every
the
time
entire fight week.
Every time Nick Diaz, for the past many years, any time Nick Diaz is ever on a microphone, you get a window into the poor guy's mind of like how his mind works.
Yeah.
And even watching him on camera though, like walking in, like for the weigh-ins, just being there, or walking in to the arena that night.
I always thought he looked really pensive the whole week.
He looked nervous, dude. Like he looked like he was a box of nerves the entire week, and I kind of felt bad for him, to be honest. Like I felt bad for him.
Looked like someone who was there against his will. Like he was being forced to be there. It was very awkward.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, we should move on. All right. Any last words on our boy Nick?
Well, I'll give a last word on Robbie.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to, take away from the fact that he really did. Obviously we know Nick is what he was, as we're saying right now, but Robbie looked awesome. And to see him fight in that style was great. And I know you're saying he wasn't ranked, but he also was not very far from being ranked. It's not like he's fallen that far. Like he's only lost to the top of the top.
That's true.
So I think he has earned a shot at one of those lower level ranked guys again coming off that. I think he looked that good. Like I think him versus like Ponzinibbio or something like that kind of fight. I think Robbie has earned. I'd love to see him get one more shot like that against a fairly big name.
Yeah, for sure. All right, boys. Well, with that being said, let us continue on. Another fight that was absolutely nuts on this card was Merab. Merab defeated Marlon Moraes by second round TKO. Omar, let me start with you. How crazy was this fight?
Dude, what the hell happened in that fight? I mean, Merab, and to be fair, that's kind of how I thought it would go. And I think even when we talked about it, we were like, Merab has there's going to be an opportunity at some point where Merab's probably going to get cracked, like real cracked.
And did he ever?
Yeah. And we haven't seen chicken legs like that in quite a minute. And that boy was running around the ring, doing his best to stay alive.
Yeah, man.
And I remember watching this fight and I was yelling at the TV, "Live, Merab, live!"
I mean, he hadn't fought anybody as dangerous as Moraes.
No.
Dude, but then Moraes just blows his gas tank, just wrecks it. And there's a part that when you watch that, how could you blame him? Really?
Well, yeah.
Merab was
sure.
He was trying to swarm him.
Was like he had like one leg off of a cliff balancing. How could you not like put everything?
You can't get closer than he got.
Do you think Moraes should be upset that he didn't get that stoppage from the ref?
No.
Hell no.
I saw a little bit of that.
I thought Merab did everything he had to do to make sure that fight didn't get stopped.
And Merab was completely lucid from what I was able to tell. He looked like he knew what was going on, where he was at. He was obviously in some shit. But we've seen dudes that are like looking this way when the dude's in front of them. Like that was not happening. Like Merab was 100% there mentally, but his body was just not working with him, man. Yeah. It was a crazy moment. And to see Merab come out in that second round and just put the beating on Moraes like that, and Moraes have no answer. And at one point, it just looked like Moraes was just like, "Okay, hit me, screw it, whatever," and just
so many unanswered shots. So many unanswered shots,
dude. I honestly, man, that fight has to be top 5 greatest comebacks of all time.
Yeah, it's up there. I don't know what Moraes' head is made out of for all the shot. Like that second round, he literally ate 150 shots in a row and was still like looking at the ref like, no, I'm okay. Like,
yeah, man,
it was crazy. It was a crazy fight.
Merab, he lost his very first 2 UFC fights back to back and has been undefeated since. And his record as a pro stands at 14-4. And I think this, just to put a period on that, is that I think this was the biggest win of his career in 2 fronts. It was the most credentialed opponent that he's defeated, and also the way that the fight played out. Like Merab, he's just so goddamn hard to beat a bantamweight, man.
He's
like
the Terminator.
Yeah. But Mark, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, when you said his loss, I was gonna say that one of those losses was sketchy too, which was the Ricky Simone one right at the end of the fight.
Oh, right.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, that's
that decision. Right. But yeah, man, the guy's the Terminator. Like, it's tough, and like you said, we kind of called this one. Like we said that Marlon is so good in round 1 that he may crack him. He may, that he'd be in trouble. And Marlon is a killer, to his credit. But now that he's in there with the elite, it just seems like more and more that this upper echelon, if they can survive the first round, that it's going to start to swing. And it's exactly what happened. We said his relentlessness would be too much, and boy, was it ever.
Where do you think?
He does not stop. You can't stop the guy.
All right, Merab, biggest win of his career. What's next for him? What do you think?
It's impossible right now because bantamweight is such an absolute mess. Like,
it's stacked.
If I look at bantamweight,
also with the title pictures,
we have Aljo, who is hurt.
Wreck.
We're doing Jan and Sandhagen for the interim title now. TJ's hurt. It's Aldo versus Font. It's Edgar versus Chito Vera. Like, where you're not going to go anyone lower than that. So Merab kind of has to chill and let this stuff all play out. There's not really anything he can do right now because I doubt he wants to take someone ranked lower than the guy he just beat. So I think he's going to kind of have to hang out a little bit, which is fine after he just got almost killed.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, I really wouldn't be mad about a Garbrandt fight against Merab. Granted, it seemed as of right now,
he's fighting at flyweight.
He's going down.
Right,
Cody
he's moving down. That's right.
He's fighting Cara France, I think, right? Unless that fight fell apart. Let's see.
I'll let you do the Googles.
I am doing the Googles. At least he was booked against Cara France. Yeah, he is. It's soon. Well, not that soon. December 11th.
Yeah, soon enough. Anyway, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. But that fight, I wouldn't be mad at, especially because Cody Garbrandt has credentials.
That would be
UFC
cool
champ. Yeah.
Sick.
And Moraes needs to take a step back at this point. I mean, the guy has lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to move down a little bit.
The thing that's frustrating is like it wasn't even like Moraes had a bad performance. It just it was almost like the strategy for how everything went down. Like hindsight's probably gonna kick him in the balls, really. But I mean, just realistically in the moment, he didn't really do anything wrong. It's just Merab is a goddamn monster.
Well, he just has to prove that he is not going to fade after round 1 of every fight. Like, and I'm not saying go far down the ladder, like fight like a Ricky Simone, who I mentioned earlier, like someone like that. Yeah. That'd be a cool opportunity for Simone. It'd be a solid win if Moraes can get it to be like, nah, I'm still here. Like someone like that. I feel like he needs to, he can't fight one of these top 10 guys right now.
Yeah. What about Dominic Cruz? What's Dominic Cruz up to right now?
That'd be fucking cool. I'd be into that one.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah. That'd be really cool.
Merab versus Cruz?
Moraes versus
Moraes.
Sorry. Late to the party. Should have opened my trap. Gentlemen, let's move on unless you have anything else pressing to say about Merab and or Moraes. But in the interest of time, let me get some quick takes from you guys on these next fights that I will call out something of a lightning round, if you will. Maybe in the future, this will turn into its own segment. I like it already that you're both like sitting up and cracking your knuckles. Okay. Let's go first. Let's go Mark and then Omar. Valentina Shevchenko, defeats Lauren Murphy by 4th round TKO. Mark, go first.
Valentina Shevchenko, defeats Valentina Shevchenko by 4th round TKO. Valentina Shevchenko, defeats Valentina Shevchenko by 4th round TKO. Mark, go first.
Valentina Shevchenko,
That was exactly what we thought it would be. Lauren Murphy had no business being in that cage with Valentina Shevchenko. She whooped her the whole time, took her a while to find the kill shot, found it. Not much more to say.
Omar, go.
I'm pretty sure we all called this fight. I'm pretty sure I called fourth round TKO specifically. I wasn't surprised by anything here. The only thing that I found really satisfying was Lauren Murphy finally acknowledging that she's not that good.
Yep.
Curtis Blades unanimous decision victory over Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Omar, you go first.
It was cool. I didn't really feel super impressed by the whole performance personally.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
I am not impressed by your performance. But at the end of the day, it was the fight that Curtis Blade needed to have. And I think we just take it for what it is and we move on.
Mark, Blades over Rosenstrike.
You could tell that the fear of the knockout blow was in Curtis Blades' head the whole time, which I get. But he's going to have to work through it because that little bit tentative version of Curtis Blades is not going to win a belt. So he did what he had to do, got the W, kept it safe, but he's going to have to kind of work through that if he's going to beat the guys above him.
Jessica Andrade, first round TKO over Cynthia Calvillo. Go back to Omar. Omar, go.
Not surprised. We said last week Calvillo had no actual tools, no path to win that fight. Andrade is a monster. Her hands weren't better. Calvillo is a ground fighter, and that's where Andrade lives. So not surprised.
Mark, Andrade, TKOs, Calvillo, go.
Yeah, Omar nailed it right there. We nailed it last week. Yeah, Calvillo didn't have anything to hang with a monster like that, and it was evident pretty quick in that fight.
Yep.
Dan Hooker, unanimous decision victory over Nasrat Haqparast. Mark, you go first.
That is the Dan Hooker that we know and love. Need more of that guy. Yeah, he looked great. Well-rounded everywhere, controlled the whole fight, bounced back, great post-fight interview. Onward, Dan Hooker. Happy that he's back to the winning ways.
Hooker, UD over Haqparast. Omar, go.
Also, I'm going to compliment Mark's statement there because I totally agree. I do want to add that while people may not be giving Nasrat a lot of credit, I am. Nasrat fought way above his skill level as far as I'm concerned, really got a test as far as where he's at. I really think Nasrat's going to come back better than we've ever seen him come back or ever be in the octagon after this fight. I think this was a perfect little litmus test for where he is, and he's going to blow by.
Okay, last one of the lightning round. Chris Daukaus, second round knockout over Shamil Abdurrahimov. I can't say his name right again. Help me, Mark.
Abdurrahimov.
Okay, Mark, go first.
Yeah, that is another one. I mean, we batted nearly 1,000 last week.
Yeah,
pretty much called that one too. The man is the real deal, as you can see, because the UFC has already booked his next fight against Derek Lewis, which was announced today. How often do you get a fight booked 3 days after you just win? But that's going to be a great clash of Daukaus's speed against Lewis's power. But yeah, man, he looked awesome. You don't really want to hang out on the feet against Chris Daukaus because it seems like at this point that he's going to find that kill shot on you. And so him versus Lewis is going to be fun.
Omar, Daukaus knocks out Shamil. Go.
Daukaus knocks out Shamil twice. Let's not forget that. He fucked him up twice.
Yep.
Crazy fight, interesting refereeing, poor Shamil's head.
And that concludes our first ever lightning round on a new MMA show. That was fun. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, I think we should do that again. That was a good time.
Let's keep rolling, though, boys. Mark, would you give us, as you have now been accustomed to, give us some quick results of the rest of this card?
Surely. So just 5 more, but we'll round out the card for you guys. Tyler Santos wins a unanimous decision over Roxanne Modafferi, jumping herself, kind of into becoming a player in the women's flyweight division. Jalen Turner gets a first-round sub over Uros Medic, which was a solid kind of legitimizing win for Jalen Turner that he needed at this point. Nick Maximov wins a unanimous decision over Cody Brundage, 2 debuting fighters, close fight. Maximov ends up getting the W. Matthew Semmelsberger gets a knockout in, 10 seconds maybe, over Martin Sano. It was literally a fight where everyone was like, why is this fight made? It's such a mismatch. And Semmelsberger was like, yes, that is correct, because I'm going to win it in 10 seconds. So that's what happened there. And then Jonathan Pierce gets a win to kind of move him into relevancy over Omar Morales, second round submission. Morales has had a decent resume thus far, so good win for Jonathan Pierce to get his name involved in that featherweight division.
Nice. Whew. Wow, we did it. We covered UFC 266. But we have one last thing to do in response to UFC 266, and that is our next segment, the Priaulx Rankings.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, subscribe, and new MMA show, and new _ MMA show on Instagram, Twitter, all the socials. And if you're into podcasts, find the audio version of the show wherever you get your podcasts, and new. With that said, let's hop into our Priaulx rankings. Mr. Priaulx, tell us, who are the risers, who are the fallers from UFC 266?
All right, I'm going to give them to you guys quick here. We got a few, but there is obviously still a lot of news we want to get to in this episode for you. So real quick, 4 risers for me coming out of this one that were significant. Merab Dvalishvili, who is apparently now Dvalishvili. Not sure when that change happened, but that's what they were calling him all night. So it's W's now, how it's pronounced. But he has moved from number 15 to number 7 in my bantamweight rankings. So, huge win for him, as we've touched on. Chris Daukaus, who we just said, has moved from number 11 to number 7 in my heavyweight rankings.
Nice.
Similar deal there. Both of those guys really legitimize themselves and are going to get huge fights. Daukaus obviously already has. Mm-hmm. Tyler Santos moving from number 20 to number 12 in women's flyweight by virtue of the win over Modafferi. The UFC already had her ranked. I kind of held off. I didn't think the resume was quite there yet, but now she makes a big jump to number 12 in my rankings. And then Jonathan Pierce, who I mentioned, going from number 64, hadn't really done much yet, to number 46 at featherweight. Nice. The one faller is Roxanne Modafferi. She falls from number 10 to number 13. Still has some quality wins in there, so doesn't really fall far, but she kind of seems like she is on the downslope of her career at this point. So she's down to number 13 in my women's flyweight rankings now.
All right.
That is that.
That is that. And that is your tap out Priaulx rankings. I'm kidding.
I got a question for you, Mark. Where's Marlon on your Priaulx rankings?
Marlon is at number 8. Reason being that he has the win over Jose Aldo and he has the win over Aljamain Sterling. Obviously, others, Jimmy Rivera, Rafael Assunção, but for that reason, I couldn't drop him past, the next guys on that list are like Pedro Munoz, Rafael Assunção, Jimmy Rivera, etc. So
for sure,
he kind of had to stay, even though he's on this losing streak. I couldn't really move him down any further.
Okay. All right. Well, with that said, let us now jump into our next segment, Inside the MMA Sphere, brought to you by some kind of CBD gummies. I don't know, one day.
That would be accurate.
That would be very accurate.
God help you guys if we ever get a weed sponsorship on here.
Yeah, man. What do you got for us, buddy?
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Inside the MMA Sphere. We're going to get into some stuff here because we do have a lot of stuff to get into. So I'm going to go through a couple of stories, and then we're going to do some fight announcements, and then we'll get into the preview for next week. Or this upcoming week, I should say. We're going to start off with a little bit of some Tyrone Woodley news, right? We all remember his fantastic fight against Jake Paul.
Oh, man.
But obviously after that fight, Jake Paul was like, yo, if you want a rematch, you got to get that tattoo, bro. And Woodley was like, yeah, all right. We'll figure that out. And apparently Woodley got I love Jake Paul on his middle finger. Yep. Cool story, bro. So I guess now they're going to be looking for the rematch. I honestly, I'm not super invested in this. I think the whole thing is ridiculous as it is. I can't really believe this guy got that tattoo, but
yeah,
there it is. Do with that information as you will.
I'm not convinced it even gets him the fight. I really think Paul has no interest and just assumed Woodley wasn't getting this tattoo, and now Woodley got it, and Paul's just going to be like, well, fuck, I still don't want to fight you, so deal with it.
I think it was basically one big troll, unfortunately, for Tyron. I hope that's actually like in pen.
It wouldn't even be out of character for Jake Paul to be like, oh, well, you're stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Like,
well, then, I mean, it's small. It's on his finger. He can turn around and go to a tattoo removal place and be like,
and I'm sure in his head, the fact that it's in his middle finger is probably makes him happy to some extent, I guess. I don't know.
I just wish
it's all ridiculous.
I just wish he won.
Yeah.
All right. Next on the list, Gastelum, our boy Gastelum. Finally looks like somebody sat his ass down and was like,
let's go.
Put the damn tortillas away, like cut it out, do some training, get your ass down to 170. So it looks like Gastelum is going to be hiring a dietitian, hopefully taking it seriously. Hopefully we see him back at 170. And if we do see him at 170 in proper shape, that boy will get a belt 150%.
You're that confident in him? Wow.
Man. Oh, hell yeah. Look at what he's done in middleweight. Look at what he's done in middleweight to guys that are double his size. Oh, no, I definitely think he gets a belt. I definitely think he gets a belt.
Is Kamaru Usman going to die in between?
I think, first of all, I think Kamaru Usman's not going to have an easy time taking Kelvin Gastelum down the way that other people who are 6'7" or 6'3" or whatever the hell is going on up there in middleweight have been taking him down.
True.
I just don't.
True.
I also think Kelvin Gastelum could totally sleep Kamaru Usman. Those are not pillow hands.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Before you made that statement, I was going to make my own statement of like, for those that never saw Kelvin Gastelum fight at welterweight, please understand how big this addition is to the welterweight division. So
dude,
you just went like higher than I was even ready to go. Saying
I really think he's got all the potential in the world to go and get that belt. Obviously, things can happen. He might be like the Chad Mendes of the welterweight division and be this close, but never really, always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of thing. But I really do have confidence, and I've had confidence in Gastelum when he was on Tough that he would eventually win a welterweight title fight.
And that was middleweight Tough.
Yeah. But we all knew he was coming down. Like I don't think we had any illusions that he was going to stay at middleweight, at least then. Because he was smaller than everybody else, and you could see he was just not like in shape to a certain extent, right? He was just making that 185 weight. But anyway, hopefully we see him at a proper weight, proper skill level, proper guys his size, so we could see him really take advantage of his skill set.
He'll be a factor 100%. Like Gastelum entering the top 5 of welterweight is a lock.
That's fun, man. That's fun. I think welterweight would benefit from a little shot like that.
Hell yeah.
All right, what else you got?
Especially with as cluttered as it is. The next thing, city kickboxing. Looks like there have been a lot of issues in New Zealand. Obviously, when it comes to the COVID business, if you guys haven't followed any of that stuff, they're very strict down in New Zealand and Australia about how that stuff happens. Like one person gets COVID, the whole country goes into lockdown. They're not playing any kind of games over there.
I mean, that's a joke. You're joking, but it's actually like also kind of like that.
No, that's literally what's happening.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
That's true.
Yeah. The thing that seems to be a little out of control, which is why the guys from City Kickboxing, and for those of you who don't know who that is, you got people like Israel Adesanya on there. Volk had kind of trained over there a little bit, cross-trained over there because Australia, New Zealand. Dan Hooker's on that team. Eugene Berman, who's the coach. So all these guys who are involved in this very small bubble of New Zealand fighters have generally been dealing with the pandemic by going to the gyms on their own. The gyms are not open to the public. They're staying basically within their own little bubbles. And after this second round of COVID hit New Zealand, the bubble had to get even smaller. So like Dan Hooker was basically training by himself at the gym. And apparently the way the story goes is the government out there and the cops out there are all basically like staking out the gym, catching them in photos coming out of the gym so that they could then police them and give them tickets and threaten arrests and all kinds of crazy shit. And everybody on the team at this point is like, dude, we can't keep doing this. This is ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. Looks like they're all moving to the United States for the foreseeable future until all this kind of chills out. And I don't really blame them, especially Hooker, because that process of him leaving his family and having to come back, that man has probably lost, at least on average, a year of his daughter's life just in quarantine, just having to quarantine every time he comes back from a fight. I think that's crazy, and I feel terrible.
How long
for
do they
him.
make Aussies quarantine when they go back?
So
What is it,
he's
like
New
6
Zealand, but his is 6 weeks.
Oh,
6 weeks, dude.
a month and a
And
half.
it's and you got to think, dude. That's
what happened to
every
14
time.
days?
That's us. I don't think that was ever a New Zealand thing.
Quarantine, and they make them like quarantine. Like they go into a hotel room
dude.
and you're not allowed to come out. They like bring you like a plate of food
built
a few
like
times
little
a day.
cities for some of these people that have to quarantine.
Jesus.
Like you live in like this little trailer-esque city. Like it's wild. I think that's
Look,
Australia with cities.
This is not
And
a
the
political
cops-
look. This is not a political podcast, but this is interesting in that this is a moment when a political issue sort of bleeds into sports.
Right.
Kind of similar
And,
to the whole. It's kind of similar to the whole transgender athletes thing with this a new transgender female fighter. Coming onto the scene, that kind of stirring up some controversy. So it's weird, man. Australia definitely, Australians probably, they put more trust in their government than Americans tend to do.
Well, the other thing too is that other places that are not the United States don't necessarily have the legalities to fall back on, like a lot of stuff here does. A lot of the legalities here get muddled because of the Constitution and all this other stuff. And so
that
there are
pesky
some
Constitution, man. It just keeps getting in the way.
It has its ups and its downs. Some people want to be my rights. And then
Hold
on.
Let's get the take of the guy wearing the American flag hat.
Yes.
Love the Constitution forever and ever. But this whole story is just sad to me. Like that, and I don't want to delve into it too much, but just the fact that things have gotten so out of hand over there that this entire team of people, their wives, their kids, who knows what other family members, all have reached a point where they probably never even considered that they were going to leave New Zealand. Never considered that they wanted to live in America. And they've all reached this point where they're like, fuck, I think we have to uproot our entire lives because there's no other answer that we can come up with. Yeah, so man. That in itself is just sad to me that that's where they're at. But if that's what's happening, I hope that they find an awesome spot in America and open an awesome city kickboxing and it all goes well. And maybe down the line, they get to go back to New Zealand if that's what they want to do. But this is obviously the career they chose, and I get it that they got to do what they got to do to not lose their livelihood.
Yeah. I think it's sad that the New Zealand government won't really work with them, on a high level, especially because of all of the tourism and especially all the eyes that they've, as a team, put on New Zealand around the world.
And they give exemptions to like the rugby teams and stuff. It's crazy that you have a champion in Adesanya who brings as many eyeballs as he does and talks as good as he does about the country. And you're like, nah, not that guy. Like it's wild to me.
Yeah. It's a pretty sad situation, but hopefully that gets better eventually. And finally, but of course, not least of all,
I know what you bring up.
Our main story today, if you haven't already seen it, is John good old Bones Jones. Your boy is back in jail again. Not 24 hours after he was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Wasn't it the same night?
Dude,
it
was
that night.
Yeah.
It was that night. I mean, well, technically it was the next it was early morning hours after that night.
I don't understand. I will never understand. I won't go into that. I'm not going to do this diatribe of it. But anyway, John Jones ends up getting arrested. Apparently, he was in some sort of domestic situation with his wife, and she ended up in the lobby of the hotel room.
Time out. Not his wife.
Fiance.
They're not married.
Fiance. Correct. Sorry about that. Yes. So she was found, she was downstairs in the lobby of the hotel room and scared for her life. So it seems, and bleeding from her mouth. Cops were called. Jones was arrested for domestic battery. Jones was also charged with tampering of a vehicle. And once we got more details as to why, I couldn't help but laugh. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but they charged him for tampering with a vehicle because when he was getting arrested, the police had him in handcuffs. John Jones got so pissed off that he rammed his head into the hood of the police car dented the hood of the police car and chipped the paint.
He
with
headbutted
his
the police
head.
car.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, he's a giant.
But the fact that he won against the car is kind of crazy.
I mean, I've seen his mugshot. He doesn't have any kind of cut or welt or anything. He just headbutted the hood.
And the hood's got a dent, man. You might as well put that up for auction or something, because that's a famous car now.
And unfortunately for him, that counts as a felony because it's damaging a police vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, it's not a great look for him, man. And the fact that the police car is one thing. We know John Bones is all about this bullshit or whatever, but the domestic violence thing, the wife, him with his he's got daughters. It hit me.
Apparently his youngest daughter is the one who went to someone and said, "I need you to call the cops."
Yeah, bro.
Can you? I know you don't have a kid yet. Obviously, Mike does. Like, can you imagine your kid having to call the cops on you? Like,
oh my God,
it makes me sick. I can't even think about it. But between that and the statement from his wife to the cops of saying, "How long do I have until he's out?" Like, jeez. You don't say that kind of statement unless some shit is going on. Like, that's not an encouraging statement to hear.
I mean, again, about his wife, non-wife, the fact.
Sorry, not wife. Fiance.
Right. No, about that, the fact that we all think that she's his wife. Years ago when John Jones came on the scene, and he had these young daughters at the time with this blonde girl, who was he wasn't married to, but like they were together. I was like, oh, okay. And then as the years went on, and John Jones kept getting in trouble. And then you kind of never saw that blonde girl again. And I just naturally always just thought in the background that he probably like left her or something. He's like living this fast life. Yeah. He still loves his daughters, but you never see in any of the embeddeds or anything, you never see that girlfriend. And then now she's like suddenly like back in the picture in this horrible story. And in the news articles that you read, she's his fiance and they've been together for 17 years. And they have 3 kids together. And the fact that, I mean, this is the thing that's tough for me, also being married, and which both of you guys can relate to. It's that like, John Jones has got money, man. Like, you put a ring on this girl's finger. You've been with her for 17 years. She's the mother of your 3 kids, and you don't get married. Like, get married. Like, what does it say about this relationship that he doesn't get married to her? Like it's clearly some kind of just, I don't know, staying together for the kids, maybe, I don't know. But then the fact that this woman who you are officially engaged to, she is your fiance. You say to her on this night, I'm taking $10,000 and I'm going to the strip club. I mean, that's what happened. And then you come back at 4 a.m. and you like punch her in the face.
I mean, look, I don't know how long they've been engaged. Maybe they didn't want to get married for whatever reasons.
Who knows?
They're recently engaged and they're planning to get married.
Right. You're right.
I don't know how people's relationships work. Maybe he goes to strip clubs with his boys and she trusts him to do it. Like, I'm not going to try to delve into all that because who fucking knows?
You're right.
My relationship is not like other people's relationship, and who knows what goes on. I'm just sick of John Jones bullshit. Like, it never ends. Every time we think maybe it's over, something new happens, and it seems like it's getting worse now. Like, his fiance's face is all bloody. His youngest daughter has to call the cops. Like, he is who he is. And personally, as much as you'll hear me vouch for John Jones in terms of his all-time, standing, I think he's the greatest fighter I've ever seen. And I will continue to say that because it's separate from the person. The person, from the minute this man entered the spotlight, like my friends will vouch for this. I've always said it, and you guys probably know it too. I've never found the guy anything but fake. The whole time I'm like, this guy is, I don't believe anything that's coming out of this guy's mouth. I don't know. He has always seemed fake to me. It's never changed. I don't believe anything he says. The guy's got his issues, man. And apparently it's going to continue. And now I already was starting to wonder if we were going to see him get in the cage. But then I heard some encouraging things lately, some of it from him. And I was like, all right, 2022, it's probably going to happen. And now I'm like, shit, I think this is it. I don't think he fights anymore. I really think this is it.
Yeah. And I think the sad thing for me on a personal level is like, I've gotten to the point with this guy where I just don't give a fuck anymore. Like,
yeah, that's
fight, don't fight. Like, I don't care, man. Like, he's I was talking to somebody today about it, and all I kept hearing in my head was, if you guys have ever seen A Bronx Tale, I just kept hearing Sonny say, the worst thing in life is wasted talent. And this dude is like the living embodiment of that statement, because the man will probably still be, even with the MMA world going down and still moving along and whatever, John Jones will still probably stay as one of the, if not the greatest martial artist that has lived and professionally fought up until this point. And it's just sad that he's just done all of this shit to himself, all of it, from beginning to end. I mean, it's absolute madness. And we really, like, to think that when he crashed into that woman's car, the pregnant woman's car, broke her arm, ran away with the weed, or ran away, came back for the weed, and then ran again. Like, we all sat there and was like, dude, what the hell is wrong with this kid? Like, this is as bad as it gets. And for him to be like, hold my beer, I think it's crazy, man. I think it's crazy. I think it's sad. And I think the fact that he had the fucking balls to go on Instagram after all of this went down and post a video of himself lifting weights, and then puts like writing up, like he puts, I have way too much trauma to consume alcohol. My brain simply can't handle it anymore. I will leave alcohol in my past forever. Turn this nightmare into the best thing to ever happen in my life. Now is the time to work harder than ever. What the devil means for good, God means, or what the devil means for bad, God means for good. Get right back on my horse. Are you crazy?
He does.
Do you not know what just happened?
Every time.
Yeah, every time.
Every time he says those same exact type of sentences.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, you reach a certain point where you're like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
But first of all, like, it is one thing when, like, you get fucked up and you crash the car, whatever, right? This reaction to what he did to his wife is not, it's not there. This is not there. It was really upsetting to watch the whole story, and it's just like another John Jones thing. But now he's fucking with his family, and it just
and like Mark alluded to, and to hear Jesse is his fiance's name, in the report that she asked, when is he getting out? Like, with concern. Yeah. That's a scary place to be, man. That's a scary place to be.
Yeah. Especially when he can beat the shit out of anybody you want.
Anybody.
To
and that's another crazy part of the story that I read, was that, that Jones, when he was getting arrested, he was flipping between rage and crying and joking. And at some point he was joking with the cops, either that, like, he could take all of them on at once or something like, or he also joked that like he could probably get out of those handcuffs, at which point the cops were like, if you keep doing this, like, we're going to tase you. At which point he, like, kind of collected himself and apologized and then, like, complied. But I'm just worried, and this is the last thing I want to say about this. Yeah. I at this point, I am pretty worried that the John Jones story is going to end very badly, and maybe soon or something like that.
It wouldn't shock me at all.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't. Oh,
I definitely don't want to even, like, speak that into existence, because I'm on the same wavelength with you, to be honest. But, like, I don't even want to invoke that shit. You know what I'm saying?
He just lives such a fast life, and because he's never taken some huge L in his career, he's never had to have this big, like, he lives this way. He has always won, and nothing has ever had to change. And every time he gets into trouble, he eventually gets out. He eventually books another fight, makes a few more million, and the cycle just keeps continuing. And there's no reason for him to change.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I'm done with the John Jones bit. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of this nonsense.
Last question.
Honestly,
real quick, do you think the UFC cuts him?
I think the UFC should. I don't think they will. I think they should. Like I said, I have zero sympathy for this fucking guy. I if I never see him again, I'm fine, to be honest. If I never see him again, it'll be too soon.
Because his fiance,
the reality is,
I don't know how it works.
If he ends up in jail, they'll cut him.
In prison, you mean?
He probably won't, and they probably won't.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, the reality is, John Jones, even on his worst day, makes money for the company. Yeah. So I don't know. We've seen money especially big money, get put ahead of morals. Guys that come into the UFC like at a low level who do something fucked up, they're gone within 2 minutes.
Right.
But a guy who can bring in pay-per-views and is established, they get the leeway. And John Jones has continued to get leeway, and as long as he brings in numbers, he probably still will.
Okay. Mark, any last words on Bones? All right.
Done with this,
let's
man.
move on. Yeah, let's move
Yeah.
on.
Also, Bronx Tale, favorite movie ever. So great reference.
Thank you.
Yes.
I saw it on Broadway too. Totally worth it.
So did I. It was fantastic.
Let's move on. Omar, you got some quick fight announcements for us?
Yes. I'm going to shake that John Jones shit off me real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of fight announcements, some really important fight announcements. We're not going to take you through anything that's not important here. So first one on the list, Derek Brunson versus Jared Cannonier. Big fight in the middleweight division. That's awesome. Probably going to answer a lot of questions as to who's next up for the belt down the line.
Yeah, I love when we get the one that we want.
Yeah, the middleweight belt should be on the line in January, it seems, as of right now. It's still tentative looking at, so hopefully sometime down the line after that, we'll see Derek and Jared, one of them, fight for the belt. Next on the list, Aldo versus Font. That is straight up violence. Yes. That is going to be one of the crazier fights going on. I'm super hyped for that fight, and I think it's well deserved by Rob Font, and I'm glad he's finally getting a shot to fight somebody of that caliber. Aljamain Sterling is out. He has been talking about how his training has been very difficult. He was on the MMA Hour a few weeks ago talking about how he still had some lingering effects from his surgery in his neck. The nerves haven't completely healed, and so he hasn't been able to go 100% and keep his cardio. So a lot of issues that Sterling was alluding to earlier in the month that he now finally pulled the trigger and said, I'm not going to be able to fight this guy. I'm basically just going to go back in the same way I went in the first time, and the same thing's going to happen. So they didn't want to push back the fight for Sterling. So instead, Sterling has been removed from the fight, and it seems like there will be an interim fight for Peter Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. Kind of fine with that, to be honest. That's going to be a hell of a fight.
Awesome.
And the only guy who really has a complaint there is Rob Font, simply because he's on a winning streak and Corey lost. But obviously, for those that don't know, TJ's hurt. That's why TJ's not getting the fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Personally, I kind of feel like Font needs one more, and I'm very fine with Corey getting that fight.
Absolutely. And if Rob beats Aldo, there's no question.
Right. Him getting Aldo is a great consolation prize anyway. And maybe that was already, I know that just got announced like yesterday, but maybe that was like already in the works and the UFC was like, we don't want to break that one up. So we'll just go with Corey, which would make sense. So,
yeah, you got to imagine too that Font, if Font is the type of fighter that I think he is, fighting Aldo probably means a whole hell of a lot to him.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
So, all right. Last on the list, another straight up banger. Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. Straight up ninja shit in that fight. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I would think Max Holloway probably takes it by decision, but to be honest, Yair is a bag of tricks. That man is a wizard that just will pull a rabbit out of his pocket for no reason, and Max might be on the floor asleep. Who knows? I'm ready for that fight, though. That fight is guaranteed violence. And those are your MMA picks for this week.
Awesome. Is that it for the Sphere?
That's it, baby. Thank you for joining the Sphere.
Dude, Yair Rodriguez, man, he's one of my favorite fighters.
100%.
He is. I mean,
dude, his zombie is one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen.
Ever.
Yeah. Completely. It might be the best finish I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I still wonder if it was on purpose. Or
it absolutely was.
100%.
I don't want to say on purpose is probably not the right way to do it. I want to know if he meant to set that up or if it was just sort of a reaction. And it was not an accidental reaction, but like something that he feels flow out of his body. Like it was just
that was flow. Some Matrix flow state shit.
Yes, it was flow state. Exactly.
Okay. It was beautiful.
It was see it, throw it.
All right, let's plow on, boys. Once again, Inside the MMA Sphere, brought to you by Green Mountain Coffee. I'm kidding. Once again, like and subscribe to this video if you're watching on YouTube. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on social media at and new _MMA show. Let us now turn to the future. Gentlemen, this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday nights, we have MMA on both nights. Let's do Friday first. Let's go in chronological order. Friday night, Bellator 267, Lima versus MVP 2. Let us preview this main event fight. Mark, why don't you set it up for us?
Love this fight. Super pumped for it. I've been hoping for a while that they would go with the rematch, and we are finally here. It's in London, which is sick as well. Obviously, that being where MVP is from, for those who may not know. But yeah, this fight is awesome. The first fight was really evenly matched. And then, of course, we know MVP got caught. It was a great highlight finish, and it's a finish that Bellator is probably going to show a million more times, and all credit to Douglas Lima. But with that being said, it was kind of random. Like, MVP happens to step in at the exact second that Lima has already begun throwing a leg kick. So the distance gets closed so fast that it turns into a sweep, and MVP lost his balance off of the sweep. And then as he tried to figure out what just happened and get back up, he gets cracked and knocked out. So, like, yeah, as I said, full credit to Lima. It was nasty. It was a sick knockout. Yeah. But it was also kind of random. So I am glad we're getting to see it again. I hope the finish either way is a lot more definitive this time. But I'm super pumped for it. In terms of picking it, I really think that MVP has improved significantly from that first fight, both physically and mentally. I really feel like he is a much more complete and dangerous fighter. Whereas Lima, I kind of feel the opposite. I don't want to say he's falling off, but if anything, I think he's plateaued at this point. I don't really think he's getting better. I think he's kind of the same guy that fought MVP the first time, which is still a killer. MVP is going to have to be super cautious about the leg kicks. Douglas Lima has some of the nastiest leg kicks in the game, but MVP is so good at darting in and out of range that I do think he can keep himself safe there for the most part and counter that. And I kind of just feel like this is going to be a passing of the torch moment in Bellator. I have that feeling. I'm going to go with MVP. I'm tempted to even go with MVP by finish, even though no one ever finishes Douglas Lima. But you know, Page just has that kind of one-hitter quarter power. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna do it. Well, we'll say Michael Venom Page by second round knockout.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Lima has been knocked out once in his career.
Super early though, right?
Scrolling very far back. Back. Yeah. 2007. Okay. By Matt Brown.
Wow. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I did know that actually.
In ISCF Invasion in 2007.
I remember I heard I forget which one of them, but I heard one of them talk about how they had fought before. I forgot about that.
Omar, what do you think of this Bellator main event? MVP Lima 2. MVP real quick. MVP has won five in a row since that loss, and Lima has dropped 2, and most recently he just lost his welterweight belt.
Yeah, the only thing that is always going to be a criticism, or at least a current criticism about Michael Page, is his resume, right? Like we've seen him fight, and we've seen him fight a lot of guys, and he's able to kind of do what he wants to do with them and play around with them and do his thing. But the moment he got in there with somebody who wasn't in there for the first time, basically, like he got starched. And I think the reality is and that fight showed more than anything that Michael gets away with murder in a lot of those fights because those guys are not on the same skill level.
Not at all.
He got up from that.
Daily.
That is true.
Oh, did you watch that fight?
His last fight was Derek Anderson, who's legit, and he made Derek Anderson look like a clown.
Yeah. Yes,
but that being said, look, but Michael Venom Page has been in Bellator for a while.
I know, it's a pretty empty resume, but he has had the couple wins where you were like, okay, he's real.
As of late, for sure.
And but it's never really been that he's not real, right? I mean, like his skills are his skills. You can't fake that. You know what I mean? Right. But at the end of the day, what Michael Venom Page excels at more than anything is his ability to make his opponents uncomfortable with his range, with his movement, with his unorthodox style. because he's moving around, he's doing all kinds of crazy shit, doing all of this. And half of these people probably don't know what he's doing, what's going to come next. Am I going to get punched in the face? Am I going to get kicked in the throat? Like, what's going to happen? Douglas Lima is not, that's like not his first day. Like, he was in there, he was like, you could do what you want. I've seen things like this before. You can make it flash, you can do whatever you want. I'm still going to fuck you up. And the reality is after he hit him with that kick and he went down, it was Michael Venom Page's recklessness on how he got up from that moment that gave Douglas Lima an opening to hurt him. Where we differ in that level, Douglas Lima's level, and everybody else that Michael Venom is fought, are those moments. Those small opportunities, those second opportunities are what make champions, right? We see it with Ortega. We just had this conversation about Ortega taking advantage of a split-second opening where he was able to put a choke on Volk. The fact that Volk got out of there is immaterial to the fact that choke got put in, right? This is the same thing with Lima and with Venom Page. Venom Page needs to be a lot more understanding that Lima will take advantage of every opening that is given to him. And he will knock out Michael Venom Page if given the opportunity. So how do I think this fight's going to go? I don't think that Michael Venom Page has enough experience under his belt when it comes to the elite of MMA and how their game plans will go against how Michael Venom Page fights, right? A lot of these guys come in, they fight, they do what they need to do. But at the highest level, these guys are well-rounded and they're not going to just go in there to fight however they're going to fight. They know how to beat you. They have it down packed on a game plan. And what they need to do that night is execute it properly. And I have no doubt in my mind that Douglas Lima knows how to execute a game plan. And against Michael Venom Page, in this sense, I just think he's going to come out on top.
You got a round and method for us?
I think Douglas Lima, this one's probably going to be a decision. I can't imagine Michael Venom Page making the same mistake twice. But at the same time, I think Douglas Lima will walk away with a decision.
With a decision?
I just want to say quick, as you guys hear the contrast between me and Omar's takes, and I like that take, by the way. It's a good take. And in evidence of that contrast, the line on nearly every site that I look is a pick'em. So
nice.
Yep.
It is a super close fight, and it is one worth watching if you were around on Friday, 100%.
Yeah, dude. If you miss this fight, I mean, you what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on from Bellator to Saturday night. We're going to get another UFC fight night. Now, whereas in the past few months, I want to say we've had to wade through some fight nights that, at least on paper, were not as engaging at least to the casual. But this coming fight night is an interesting card. It's got some really nice matchups on there. So UFC fight night, Santos versus Walker. We got who do we got? We have Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker happening in the light heavyweight division. Omar, let me go to you first. What do you make of this main event of this fight night? Santos versus Walker 2. And not
kind of
2,
crazy, right?
Happening on October 2nd, that is.
Stylistically, I feel like it's very similar to Douglas Lima and Michael Venom Page. Johnny Walker is a very explosive, wild, crazy fighter that's very unorthodox, can kind of hit you from wherever and kind of present problems from wherever. But Thiago Santos, again, has been in there, has the experience with the top guys of that division. That boy also has hands, really good hands. So I think it's going to be a hell of a fight. I'm not 100% sold on Johnny Walker just yet. I don't think his approach to the game, while fun to watch, is effective and efficient. And I think Thiago Santos has much more of the efficiency factor going on for him. So I'm going to go with Thiago Santos by 4th round KO.
4th round KO. Very specific. Mark, take your shot.
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with Thiago Santos, and I will tell you why. But the reason it's tough is because Johnny Walker is going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, which may be very significant because both of these guys are prone to just turning it into a firefight. And if it turns into that, when you are the man with the 6-inch reach advantage, you can say further away, that's a huge factor. Secondly, Johnny Walker's been out for a year, and he is a kind of quickly developing fighter. So you don't know what he's added to his game in that year. He could have added a lot. And thirdly, Thiago, who I love, his performances lately and his refusal to throw leg kicks, it seems, have kind of been a little bit concerning coming off the injuries he sustained in the John Jones fight.
Right.
He hasn't looked like exactly the same guy. But with all of that being said, I'm going to say this is the fight where he gets it going again. I'm gonna roll with him. They both, as I said, they both throw caution to the wind, but I still feel like in those moments, Santos is the more responsible striker than Walker is. Walker is just, Santos has more of a controlled wildness to me, whereas Walker is kind of just winging. And I think if you're going to be in that type of fight with Thiago Santos, it's usually not going to go your way. His power is just so devastating in those moments. And on top of that, we've seen Santos have the better chin historically. He's been able to take damage better than Walker has been able to take damage. So for all those reasons, I'm going to say Santos gets back on the horse, and I'm actually going to say he does it big. I'm going to say first round knockout for Thiago.
First round knockout.
I think it gets crazy right away, and Walker falls.
Wow.
Ooh, man, it is tough. It is tough. Look, I mean, Johnny Walker only has 2 losses in the UFC. He got knocked out by Corey Anderson, who really put the big wet blanket on his hype train. And then he lost to Krylov. And then he almost lost to Ryan Spann. He knocked out Ryan Spann, but that was a firefight in which Johnny Walker got rocked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. I still do. I really like Johnny Walker. I love that he's a character. I love characters in MMA.
Yeah.
And
no, 100%.
In terms of his fighting style, when he was coming up, I was like, oh, this guy, this is some new blood at light heavyweight. The way he fights, he's 6'6", but he's super
frame
athletic.
is crazy, yeah.
Yeah, but he's super athletic. But you know what? I feel like Yuri Prohaska is the fighter that we all thought Johnny Walker was going to be in terms of that like crazy firefight that Prohaska turns it into, but somehow always is in sort of like this flow state control of it. The second time we've invoked flow state on this episode. Yeah. That being said, I'm going to go Santos by decision on this one.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's another thing. Santos has plenty of experience in 5-rounders. Walker obviously does not, so that could be a factor as well.
And we've seen Walker's, kind of get affected by a limited gas tank, especially with the way that he fights. So if we're going to go 5 rounds, which is why one of the reasons why I picked 4th round KO, because I think Walker will probably be okay for a little while and take some damage along the way. But I think once we start getting into championship rounds, we're going to see that boy start to look like he's in deep, deep, deep water.
Oh yeah. Well, let's keep going down this card. We have.
I love this co-main.
Yeah, this co-main is great. Kevin Holland taking on Kyle Daukaus in the middleweight division. Omar, why don't you go first since you're coming at it with the passion?
I love Kevin Holland. I don't care if he loses. I don't care if he wins. I love me some Kevin Holland. That boy is all the fun. Kyle Daukaus, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. That's little brother.
Yep.
Of Chris Daukaus. Yep. So we've got another Daukaus on the list. I'm more sold on big brother Daukaus than little brother Daukaus personally, but I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. Both of those boys come out to fight, regardless of the fact that big boy Daukaus is just a little bit more successful, I think, and just a little bit more dangerous. But Kevin Holland, I'm really interested to see what advancements and what improvements he's made. He's been talking about the wrestling game and making sure he doesn't get taken down, like a baby. I'm very excited to see what improvements he's made in his game. And he's just always a good time. I really think Kevin Holland's going to go in there, and I think he's probably going to starch him in the 2nd round.
Mark, what do you think? Holland versus baby Daukaus?
So I'm a little confused by this matchup, and I'm even more confused by the odds, because the odds right now are Kevin Holland -150 versus Kyle Daukaus +125, which is
Daukaus is not even ranked.
Close. Like I don't understand it. Kyle Daukaus is 1-2 in the UFC. Like, granted, those losses are to Phil Hawes and to Brendan Allen, who are both very good. I get it. I just don't get what this guy's done to be nearly even odds against Kevin fucking Holland. Like, yeah, all right, Kevin Holland lost a few fights, but like, are we forgetting who Kevin Holland is? Like, the dude is nasty. Like, I feel like everyone wrote off Kevin Holland really oddly fast. So I don't get that. I guess I kind of get the fight in that Daukaus is someone who wants to get the fight to the ground, but he's not like on this level of guys Holland has been fighting. So the UFC probably wants to put him in there and be like, show us you can survive this guy so we know what's up. But I would be shocked if he does not. He's, first of all, the whole time Holland's been off, he's been working on the wrestling. He has been working regularly and daily with Johnny Hendricks, who he said may even be in his corner.
Wow.
So that should be somewhat of a game changer for him. Obviously, we know he spent a little bit of time with DC and some others who tried to work with him as well. So, you know, I have full faith that at least this type of opponent, Kevin Holland, should be able to do whatever he wants. I think this fight is all Kevin Holland. I think it's one-way traffic. And I think he gets going again. I'm going to say, I think, is this what Omar just said? I'm going to say second round TKO for Kevin Holland.
Yep. I'm going to go Kevin Holland decision, but I think he's going to style on him for most of the fight.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I like it.
Let's see. Let's go down this card. Aspen Ladd coming out of the woods. Get it? Because she's always hiking.
Oh my God.
I believe this is the first fight on the main card, and she's taking on a tough winner, right?
Yep.
Macy Chiasson.
Wait, did Macy win tough?
I believe so.
I can't freaking remember now. That's bad that we don't know that, but whatever.
Did she win tough?
All right, let's hop back into it. Mark, why don't you? Oh, you're Googling.
I'm Googling if she won tough.
She did.
She did win tough. Okay, we were right. We were right.
What do you
We
think,
know our
Mark?
shit,
What do you make of
guys.
this fight? Aspen Ladd, still a prospect on the women's side, taking on tough winner. What do you think?
So we've actually talked about this one once before on an earlier episode because they were booked and then it kind of got rebooked.
Right.
But so I'm sure I'm going to say similar things to what I did then. But what I find interesting in this fight is the size difference. Just because Chiasson is so huge for this division, she is 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. So she'll have a 3-inch height and 6-inch reach advantage over Aspen Ladd, which would not shock me if that size comes into play. I think Chiasson is a live dog. I will not be surprised if she pulls the upset, especially in the striking department. But I do think that Aspen Ladd is good enough on her feet and that she can probably turn it into a grindy, press against the cage, get some takedowns, grapple type of fight if it's not going her way. So I just think there's maybe more tools in the belt of Aspen Ladd, but it's been a long layoff, so you never know how that's going to be. So, you know, Ladd's a minus 230 favorite. Chiasson is plus 190. So I would not hate a bet on Chiasson, but you ask me who I'm taking, I'm going to land on Aspen Ladd by decision.
Omar, who you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, to be honest. You know, I've been a big Aspen Ladd fan for a little while now. The girl's got ice in her veins. I love watching her fight. You know, we've seen her go through shit and come out of the corner like, I got to get this done. This has got to get done. And she got it done. I love shit like that. I love watching fighters like, you know, come out of the like when Izzy came out against Kelvin Gastelum in that last fight. Like, you got to kill me, son. You're gonna have to kill me to get me out of this fight. I'm winning this belt. I'm getting my belt. Amen. I love those kind of attitudes. Aspen Ladd's got that in spades. I can't choose against Aspen Ladd regardless of any kind of logic. I love fighters with that mentality. I think Aspen Ladd has the ability to take her down. I think her grappling is significantly better. I think the fact that Chiasson is taller than her actually plays a little bit better to the grappling game personally. I think she'll be able to kind of enter a little bit easier if she's not trying to strike with her. So I'll be interested to see exactly how it plays out, but I will be going with Aspen Ladd. I will give Chiasson the credit as far as she won't get finished. So I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd by decision.
Okay. Let's talk about this next fight on the main card. Fun fight. Alex Cowboy Oliveira taking on Niko Price. What a fun fight. Marco first.
Yeah, this fight's awesome. I mean, this fight is literally like throwing two bombs at each other and seeing which one blows the other one up. Like, there's literally so much offense, so little defense. Both guys are so dangerous from anywhere. Like, it could, wherever this goes, mat, standing, clinch, every guy could finish the fight from every spot. So you can't book a more surefire banger than this fight, in my opinion. But I do think that if the fight gets into the second half of it, which, later second round, third round, which I think it will, because I think Niko Price will be able to survive even if Oliveira's putting it on him. I think as it gets into the second half of the fight that Oliveira will likely fade. He tends to do that, and I think it's going to be hard for him to get Price out of there. So because of that, I'm going to say Niko Price wins a unanimous decision, despite maybe losing that round one, maybe even being in some danger. I think they'll probably both be in danger multiple times, but I think it's going to be a war, but I'll go with Price.
Nice. Let's see. Any other fights you guys want to discuss on this UFC Fight Night card?
Omar, did you want to hit that one? You didn't get to hit that one?
Yeah. I'm gonna just add to that real quick. I have actually I'm looking forward to Niko Price winning that fight. I think that the Oliveira's ability to not keep a gas tank throughout the entire fight, I think is going to work against him on a very high level. And I think Price is probably going to end up getting a decision, because Price is one of those guys that is relentless. That boy has pressure.
He's way
all
up there.
Day. Yeah.
In terms of like best gas tanks in the sport, he's way up there.
100%. 100%. And I think once we get to the third round, I think just like Mark said, Oliveira starts to fade. And I honestly think Price gets on top of him and just chokes him out. So I'm going to go with third round submission.
Okay. Any other fights you guys want to talk about on this card?
Yeah, I'll hit on one more that I thought was interesting. More so I was surprised, which is that Misha Cirkunov is dropping to middleweight.
Yep.
Which blows my mind, because the dude is a friggin' monster. Like, he has muscles on muscle. I don't understand where the weight is coming off. Like, he literally is only giant muscle. So how this man is dropping 20 pounds to be a middleweight, I don't really understand. But I'm interested to see what happens. The matchup against Krzysztof Jotko is interesting. Cirkunov, is definitely looking to grapple, but Jotko is a solid grappler. Striking wise, Jotko is probably going to be faster, maybe be outpointing him, but Cirkunov does carry that power. So it's a pretty interesting fight. To me, I feel like it's just it comes down to the weight cut. Like, I have to see it to believe it. Like, if Cirkunov misses weight, or if he looks rough, then my pick is probably going to be Jotko. If Cirkunov shows up and his frame is different and he looks like a healthy middleweight, then I'm going to be like, shit, I can't believe this man's a middleweight, but I'm probably going to pick him. I do think he's the better fighter. Yep. Jotko's good and he's skilled everywhere, but I've never really been able to love Krzysztof Jotko, because to me, he always lets his opponents stay in the fight. And a lot of times, many times them being able to stay in it lets them find a way to get rid of him. So I always feel like there's something a little bit missing to me with Jotko. So I'll say Cirkunov by club and sub, assuming he makes the weight and looks healthy doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. I think Jotko has a bad habit of, just like Mark said, letting guys off the hook, but letting guys off the hook because he doesn't want to put himself in the line of fire to potentially lose, right? He's very comfortable, jabbing, staying on the outside, keeping his reach, making sure he's winning, but not necessarily trying to finish the fight, right? I think that's going to work against him when it comes to Cirkunov. Cirkunov's not about that life. Cirkunov's going to come for your head. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be able to keep him off of him with his jabs and with his range. I think Cirkunov walks out of there. Again, I'm probably going to go with a TKO round 2.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. That's a great pick. He is 6'3", and he looks like the biggest Marine you've ever seen.
Right? Like, I don't get where the weight is coming off. I really don't get it. Not like he's super tall. Like, his height can fit at middleweight. It's just his frame. I don't get it. But we shall see.
There you have it. With that being said, gentlemen, let us bring this one to a close. Another episode is in the books. Congrats to Alexander Volkanovski. Enjoy your week, Alexander, on the marquee. And we'll see you guys next week on And New MMA Show. One last time, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. If you're into audio, find us wherever you get your podcasts, and find us on social media at @andnew_MMA Show in all the places. Boys, any parting shots?
Don't skip on your Bellator this weekend, guys. Friday night. Don't forget.
That's it. Well done.
Nice. All right, guys. See you next week.
See you guys next week. Thank you.
Later.